I became licensed here in Texas back in 2013, and I will never forget that real estate license exam. Back in school, I've never really been a big test taker. Like, I just never was really good at tests. And I realized on this test, hadn't nothing changed. I'm just gonna be upfront with you. That test was tricky. So in this video, what I wanna tell you is, one, what I remember from the test, and two, what I would do differently if I had to take it again, studying wise and preparation and everything like that. Towards the end of the video though, I'm gonna tell you the things that I did do that I realized really helped me out with this real estate exam. So I did end up passing my test on the first try, which was a miracle. I passed that sucker by one question. The minimum you could get was like a 75 and I got a 76. But hey, passing is passing, and once you pass, you don't ever have to look back at that score again. So about the test. The test was broken up in two parts. There was the state and then there was the national portion. The national portion was pretty standard. It was just a lot of like real estate rules and stuff that was just pretty straightforward across the board. And the state portion was things that were specific to the state of Texas. So about the national portion. The national portion was a lot easier to me. There was more so just like general principles, and it was kind of a lot of common sense stuff. But on the national portion, there was a lot of math. I remember there being a lot of questions regarding like square footage and how many square feet are in an acre, and determining the square footage of certain shapes. And then there was easier stuff like calculating commissions and things like that. There were other questions like determining cost and value methods that investors use, so you need to know that type of stuff as well. Even things like depreciation of land was on my test, so know those basic principles and how that all works. But to be honest with you, math was never my strongest subject, so I didn't go into it super confident from the start. On the state portion though, there was a crap ton of questions about like state laws and things that are just here in Texas. Actually, my state portion was pretty much like, I would say maybe like 90% laws. They like to make sure, because there are some things in Texas that are different from other states, so they really ask you those questions to make sure you can distinguish like what's specific here versus what's everywhere else. But they still bring up stuff that is relevant in other states, so it's kind of like, you gotta know both at the end of the day. There were questions regarding like our Texas Real Estate Commission, so the actual governing body of the real estate agent. Anything regarding like punishment, fines, or breaking laws, all that stuff was on there. They really want you to know specific what will happen if you do break some rules or break the law. There were ethics questions, there was procedure questions, and there were questions about like brokerage rules and stuff, so you had to know all of that. The biggest thing that I remember though about this course is that those questions are so tricky. Like, they would give you multiple choice questions and the answers would have like slight differences in them. So say for instance, it was a math question. They may put the decimal in different places on all four of the answers, or they may add more zeros on there. So you really had to make sure your math was right and tight in order to pick the right one. They would even ask you questions where they sounded right, but they weren't. Like, say for instance, we were talking about like punishment, right? And it would say, okay, if you do this, are you gonna be suspended for 6 months? You're gonna be your license revoked for 6 months, inactive for 6 months, or on probation for 6 months. So you really have to know specifically what would happen if you broke a rule. And hell, like I said, they all sounded right to me. If I had to take it again, the biggest thing that I would worry about is tightening up on my like basic math skills. So how to convert numbers to percentages and where the decimals go and things like order of operations, knowing when you need to multiply or divide based on like the answer that you're trying to get or the question. And so I would have tightened up on that a lot better. That was stuff from like high school and college that you just kind of forget. It really makes a difference. I would have also tightened up on my vocabulary. Like, if there's a word that you really don't know, you really want to learn it, and not only just learn it and know the definition, but know when to use it, how to use it, and know the differences in other words that they may be grouped with. That test got so specific, it was crazy. So now the things that really helped me, and the first thing that really helped me was taking a cram course. A cram course is literally like a 2-day course that goes over everything that you learned in your real estate course in like 2 days. And so I recommend taking this cram course like no more than 2 days before you're scheduled to take the actual test. Even though I did take my classes online, I took a cram course online, and I also did it in person. And so I'll put a link down below of the real estate school that I went to, because they actually do offer a cram course. Something else that I did was I created flashcards, and I know that sounds basic, but it really helped. And I had a stack of flashcards like that thick, because there were so many words, but it truly helped with the vocabulary. The last thing that I did was I went and bought one of those real estate for dummies books, you know, those like yellow ones, and I'll put a link to it down below in the description. But that really helped me with the national portion, because I'm guessing that book is sold everywhere, so a lot of things that were in that book were on the national portion of the test. And so it really helped me out. Looking back, I don't think that there's a way to 100% be ready for that test. So I recommend when you finish your course, go ahead and schedule your test. You know, like schedule it maybe for a week out, and use that time in between from when you finish your course to you taking the test to really study hard and take that cram course and really pack it all in. Because if you wait too late, or if you put too much time into it, you're gonna start to forget stuff, or you're gonna become overloaded, and it'll just turn into a disaster. I also wanna say, do not be discouraged if you failed on the first try. I have many friends who failed on the first try. It's very common, and to be honest with you, I didn't even think that I passed mine. Like, I remember there was a point when I was taking a test where I was like, I already failed this. And so I was literally clicking answers that just sounded like halfway right, not even like checking my work. I mean, it was kind of like I gave up, because I was like, I failed this a long time ago. But you know, if you do fail, you can always get up and retake it again. It's not a big deal. As a matter of fact, something good can come out of failure, because at least you'll know what to expect the next time you take it. But I will say, on these tests, they will jumble up the questions and the answers, and so you're gonna have different questions than the person sitting next to you, than the person sitting across the room, and y'all's answers are gonna be different. And so it's kind of no real way to cheat on this test, and they are watching you like a hawk. I mean, they got like cameras on you, and they're watching your computers, and I mean, it's a pretty big deal. But you know, go into it, feel as prepared as you can. And again, if you fail, you can always go and take it again. It's not a big deal. So I hope this information has been helpful. If you've recently taken your test, I'd love to hear all about it, or what you remember from taking your real estate exam. And you know, study hard, keep your head up, schedule it, set a goal, make it happen. Leave me a comment and give me a thumbs up if you thought this video was helpful. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate you subscribing. Until next time, I'm Chasing J Miles, and I will talk to you soon.